Hey, Spuddies, Potato Whiskey here, and we're taking a look at the Civilization 7 Dev Diary number 1 on ages. And speaking of ages, it has taken me ages to get around to actually taking a look at this thing. And we're going to be doing a live react to it as we go. So, hey all, I'm Sarah, or Sar. I think I've chatted to Sar before. She's the community manager for Civilization 7. Super excited to announce we'll be rolling out a series of developer blogs in the coming months. These blogs are written by members of the Firaxis dev team and are tailored specifically for our Civilization community. We'll be diving deep into the detail that makes Civilization 7 so special. So if you love getting into the nitty-gritty, these are for you. Today's blog will cover ages, our biggest new feature in Civilization 7. Also surprisingly a controversial feature that people have. Well, I don't know if the ages are a big controversy so much as the transition point between the ages. As always, I'm here for any questions or feedback you got. Happy reading. Hello Civ fans, my name is Ed Beach, Creative Director on Sid Meier's Civilization 7 at Firaxis Games. I'm excited to kick off our series of developer blogs on a topic I know the community has been discussing about in great detail. Ages. My goal is to provide you with an overview of how ages work and share some of the thinking on why we decided to implement this system in the first place. I will be providing greater detail in areas the community has some questions on, such as the mechanics on how we handle age transitions to ensure your journey through the ages feels epic and fun. So we're going to be introducing ages here, as we've talked about before. So this is going to give us a good overview, a good idea. What the hell are ages? So currently in Civilization 7, there will be 3 ages. There will be the Antiquity Age, the Exploration Age, and the Modern Age. We've seen a little bit of the Antiquity Age gameplay. We haven't seen the Exploration Age gameplay, although I believe there is a live stream out that I will be reacting to soon. And I'm interested to see how the Modern Age works. I can see it's Industrial Revolution, airplanes, all that sort of jazz. So, as we've talked about before, ages represent a significant gameplay evolution for Civilization. One as big as when we moved from squares to hexes. So, in the developers' minds, right, changing Civilization in this fundamental way with ages is on the same level as going from squares to hexes. And going from squares to hexes was a huge change for Civilization. Was it a change for the better? Oh, that's a hard one. Was going to squares better? I think going to hexes was a side grade. Generally, it had a lot of upsides, but there are downsides as well. We all know hexagons are the bestagons, but there are some advantages to square-based battle grids and map grids and all that sort of stuff. I like hexes personally because of the radial distance with diagonal moves is always the same. You know, you don't have the diagonal problem you do with square grids, where basically like if you allow a player to move diagonally on a square grid, it's like getting a move up and left, which is kind of weird. No. Here's the thing, what they really moved from, they didn't move from squares to hexes, they moved from octagons to hexagons. Like that's the way you should really think about it. Anyway, fundamentally, ages divide a single game of Civilization into distinct playable chapters. Every age is designed to capture the essence of a specific period of human advancement, achieved by filling the age with historically relevant elements. As you go from one age to the next, your empire evolves. You select a new civilization that comes equipped with a fresh set of bonuses, units, and buildings. This new civilization carries forward key elements of your past, and by the end of the campaign, you'll have created a unique cultural lineage through history in your journey to build an empire to stand the test of time. This is quite cool. I quite like the idea of building upon these like legacy bonuses and legacy journeys and all that sort of stuff. That was one of the aspects of Humankind that I really liked. I liked the legacy bonus stuff. I just didn't like the actual balance of the individual civs. I think Humankind made a mistake in that they went for too many civilizations and not enough interesting civilizations. Humankind felt like they were ticking boxes, not making interesting decisions. That's kind of how I feel about that game. This Journey Through the Ages is a new experience that we've never had before in Civilization. Well, this specific iteration of Journey Through the Ages. We have had ages, but not in this form. The idea of building a unique cultural lineage as opposed to your empire being represented by a single civ across all of time. This is, and for good reason, this is probably the most controversial change to the game because it's one of those core identity things of Civilization, and I wonder just how much arguing the developers did have going back and forth about this. I would be interested to see. If you're interested in learning about the creative driving force behind ages, the idea that history is built in layers, I encourage you to check out our dev panel discussion at PAX West. Now, I think we did actually watch this. We live reacted to this, so that video should be on the channel somewhere. If I can find the link, it'll be linked in the video. And for this particular blog, I want to talk about ages from more of a game mechanics and design perspective. Why ages? So this is going to be their justification. This is going to be Ed's justification for why he went with ages, or why the design team went with ages. Right? I shouldn't put everything on Ed. Right? He's not a Peter Molyneux-esque, visionary figure. He is the visionary of Civilization 7, but he's not. He's the head honcho, but that doesn't mean he's making every single decision in detail, right? And he's not the progenitor of every idea. But for the sake of simplicity, I will say Ed. When my team of designers and I first sat down to brainstorm ideas for Civilization 7, we started taking an honest look at Civilization 6. I tasked everyone to build a list of what they'd like to improve on and come back together to compare notes. At Firaxis, we've always said that we are our own harshest critics, but even I was surprised at how critical the designers were. No stone was left unturned, and as we looked through our feedback, one particular issue kept coming back over and over again. Late game Civilization is just not that fun to play. There is some truth here. There is some truth that the late game of Civilization is not particularly fun to play, and part of it is because, you know what I need? I need Paint. I need Microsoft Paint to explain this. It's like, if you imagine, like, let's say, you know what? It's better if we do this in dark mode. So let's imagine this bottom line here. As you go to the right, this is time, okay? And as you go up, this is value, okay? So like, if you have something that gives you plus one resource per turn, you would imagine it would look like this, okay? It would be a line going straight through. In fact, I'm going to make this line thinner, okay? This is something that gives you this line is plus one of something every single turn. You can see that it's a linear thing. You get plus one per turn, right? And you can see every unit of time that passes, you get 1 unit of value. But here's the thing. If I were to build something here versus here, right? If I build this right here, you can imagine, right? Let's say the game ended here. Let's say the game ended at this yellow line is where the game ended. The amount of value that is produced by this green triangle compared to the, compared to like this light green triangle plus this dark green triangle, right? Because if I build something here, I get to benefit for all of this, right? And the area underneath this is like how much of an impact on the game it had. So something built here towards the end of the game has a much lower impact, which means if you want something built towards the end of a game to have a much bigger impact, it needs to have a way bigger curve, right? It needs to have a way bigger curve upwards to even begin to approach the same kind of surface area, which causes all sorts of its own problems, right? And basically, what it really boils down to, decisions on this part of the timeline, right, where the game is in the beginning, they have a lot more impact on the game than decisions made over here on this part of the timeline where the game is going to end. And, you know, call this yellow line, this is the end of the game. Okay, so things you do over here matter more than things you do over here. So like, let's use this green line to represent plus one food. Okay, so like plus one food here, right? Let's imagine it's going up by 1 food. You're getting 1 food every single turn. That matters so much more because let's say every, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps of food, you then also start getting plus 1 production, right? And so if we were to follow this throughout the whole game, now it's going up by 2, right? And that graph starts to curve off into infinity. Whereas like that same graph over here, it stops there. Like it never gets to go off up into the cool part, right? And the value of it never gets to curve up to infinity or whatever. Does that make sense? Like the impact of decisions early in the game have an outsized feel of importance, which is a difficult challenge. And I appreciate that this is what they're trying to solve with the Aegis system. In order to tackle that issue, we need to break the thought down into a few specific root causes. Here are the main things that we identified. Snowballing. So this is kind of reference to what I was talking about. Snowballing refers to start with something small, it gathers momentum, and it becomes unstoppable, right? Think of exponential growth, right? If plus 1 food per turn lets you then get plus 1 production, and then that plus 1 production lets you get another plus 1 food, and then that plus 1 food lets you get another plus 1 production, before you know it, you're off to the races. In Civ, this is expressed when your empire advances too fast for your opponents to catch up, or you've fallen behind so far that you can't catch up. In both scenarios, your choices and decisions have little effect on the ultimate outcome. Yeah, this is definitely a thing that happens in Civ. Anybody who plays Civilization 5 in multiplayer, or even Civ 6 in multiplayer, there is a point in the game where even declaring war on another player to try and slow them down, to try and burn them, will not be effective. So they're trying to address the snowballing problem. But here's the thing. This is a double-edged sword decision, as far as I'm concerned, because snowballing is also fun when you're the one doing it, in particular when you're playing single player, okay? When you're playing single player and you snowball the hell out of your empire, that's actually incredibly fun. And I think building an overwhelmingly giga super powerful empire is an incredibly fun thing. And I think I would maybe have taken the approach of giving players more interesting tools towards the late game and maybe slowing down snowballing slightly. Lots of micromanagement in Civilization, like many 4X games, can be mapped onto a simple linear graph. As time increases, the amount of actions you have to take increases. This is very true. It's manageable in the first few hours, and this is actually, this is less true of the latest Civilization games. I definitely feel like a lot has come in the 4X genre to reduce micromanagement. If you guys go back and you play some of the older 4X games where you can produce like 1 unit per turn and then that unit needs an action every turn, like the amount of actions you need to be taking every single turn becomes exponential, right? Because if you can use an action to make a new city and that city can make a new unit, now the amount of actions you're making per turn becomes exponential. So a turn, turn 100 takes 2 hours versus turn 2 takes 30 seconds. This is manageable in the first few hours, what many players feel is most fun. Yep, definitely. Where you have a few cities, some builders, and a small army. Yep, for sure. But the more you play, the bigger your empire gets, and suddenly you're making decisions for dozens of cities, moving dozens of units one by one. This is both tedious to the player and makes every decision feel less important. Yeah, this is 100% something that I have felt about the game for a very long time. About 4X games, is that the number of decisions that you are required to make towards the end of the game starts to increase, and the individual impact of each of those decisions goes down, right? And that is a recipe for the slog. We call it the churn here, okay? That is the churn. So it looks like they're trying to address snowballing and the churning of the end of the game. Civ Ballison. Civ designs draw inspiration from historical events and culture, so their unique abilities and buildings must be both relevant to their identity while also being balanced across a game that spans all of history. Because of this, every Civ is strong at a particular point in the game, but can be generic during other points. What's interesting is that due to snowballing, competitive Civ players rarely pick late game Civs. This is actually a pretty important thing, and it goes back to the graph, right? A civilization that gets +1 food in the ancient era will be picked 100% of the time over a Civ that gets +100 food per turn in the information era. Like 100% of the time. Because by the time those abilities come online, someone has built up an insurmountable lead. This is very, very true. Very, very true. And I really appreciate that they've looked and are really like considering these are not like, oh, this is kind of like a thing about Civ. These are fundamental baked in issues with the identity of not only the genre, but with like the fundamentals of what civilization is. These are, in some ways, these things are civilization. So trying to tackle these things, it's like trying to rebuild the concept of painting. Okay, like they're really, really going to the fundamentals of what a civilization game is, which helps you appreciate just how insane what they're trying to do here is. Like they're going down to the fundamentals. Now, these are just a few of the things that the team identified, and the ultimate kicker is how they express themselves in a single data point. More than half of Civilization 6 players have never finished a single campaign. More than half have never finished a single campaign. Now, we have heard from some members of the community who wonder, is this actually an issue that needs solving? If players are having fun in Civ with the way it's currently built, what's the problem? From our perspective, not finishing the game is a signal. Actually, this is actually a good point. This is a really good point. Not finishing the game is a signal that players are hitting the points where they're no longer having fun. This is a really good point. But also, and this is very true, we've all experienced it, right? You get to the industrial era and you start a new game. It's no matter which Civ game you're playing, the most fun period of the game is that first 100 to 150 turns. Once you get to the industrial era, you're like, Alt-Tab, Alt-F4, or you got to go have dinner, and then you come back and you don't remember what you were doing. You don't remember. And so like to try and tackle that is crazy. We want everyone to have a great experience from start to finish. We know that players often feel the beginning hours of Civ are magical, and they are. We want to make sure that every part of the game feels just as epic and exciting as that initial rush. So with this in mind, along with the insight that history is built in layers that we've previously outlined, we decided the best way to tackle these challenges is to break the game up into historically themed chaptered. I want that to be clear, historically themed chapters. A useful analogy for thinking about this structure is a book series. Each age has a story of its own with a beginning, middle, and end. I quite like the idea of the ages system. I'm excited to try it out. When these books are combined together, they tell the full epic story of your empire. Playing the age. It might surprise you to know that from our playtests and feedback, the actual experience of playing an age in Civilization 7 feels very familiar to a traditional game of Civ. As many of our fans know, Sid Meier has a rule of thirds when designing a sequel. 33% brand new features, 33% of improving previous features, and 33% staying roughly the same. We're continuing that tradition with Civilization, as it's critical for us to get as it is critical for us that the game still feels like Civ. I would argue, I would argue they're closer. I think they're closer to like 50% brand new and like 40% improving previous features and 10% staying roughly the same. That's how I feel. I feel like they've gone a little bit further than I won't say should have, but maybe we're trying to. I think they've gone a little further than they meant to. And whether or not that's good or bad, that's going to play out, right? Hopefully the game will still feel like Civ. Each age, in some sense, is like playing a tighter, more focused campaign of Civ. Just like before, you'll build your capital, discover the lands around you, find resources, and cooperate or compete with your fellow Civs. What's different this time around is that every age has a key set of elements that are unique to that age, which include civilizations are unique to age. Civilizations are age exclusive and come equipped with unique abilities, units, civics, and buildings and/or improvements. The unique parts of each civilization are always relevant in that age, and thus make each civ feel like they're competing at the height of their power. This is something I'm really excited about. And it kind of goes back to that addressing, right? The civilization balance, right? So some civs are sick when you get to the industrial era. And so it kind of sucks that like if you're playing an industrial era strong civ, like the ancient era doesn't feel good. So I'm kind of interested in the idea that each civilization has an identity and they're at the zenith of that power in that age. Very, very interesting. This is all very exciting and very, very hype worthy. Resources. Each age contains a set of obtainable resources on the map that were available during that time period. Some resources span multiple ages, while others are exclusive to an individual age. This is another way to kind of make the map change, right? That there are interesting new ways to interact with the map based on how much, like there's new resources, maybe. Maybe a resource that you really want spawns on a border city. Right? And now you got to figure out how the hell I'm going to get that. Civics and technologies. Ages determine which civics and technologies can be researched. Buildings and units. The available types of units, buildings, and wonders are determined by the age. Independent powers. Independent powers are minor factions of the map that can be interacted with. This is like city-states. Game systems. Certain game systems are only available during each age, ensuring every age feels unique and exciting to engage with. This is something I'm quite excited with, and I'm quite interested in, and I want to see what they do with it. The playable map area. Ages determine the overall size and scope of the playable map, expanding as the player transitions into new ages. Age progress determines how far along you are in that age. Every turn contributes a small amount of age progress, while completing things like milestones along a legacy path will contribute larger amounts to the age progress meter. Generally speaking, you can expect an age to last around 150 to 200 turns on standard speed, or roughly 3 to 4 hours of play. I like that each age is a 3 to 4 hour, because like here's the thing. I think most people, right, once a week, you could find 3 to 4 hours to play a game and crunch your way through an age. Regarding the aforementioned legacy paths, there are a series of objectives for you to complete during an age, categorized as science, military, culture, and economy objectives. Every legacy path contains several milestones, providing you with greater rewards as you progress further down a given path. Each new reward unlocks one or more bonuses that you can take advantage of during the transition to the next stage. Completing a legacy path in its entirety unlocks a Golden Age legacy that you'll have access to in the next age. Failing to complete even one milestone of a legacy path gives you an associated Dark Age legacy. Every path and its objectives are themed to the age, further bringing out the essence of that time period. So like science in the antiquity might be around building books and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of exciting and interesting. As you near the end of an age, you'll be confronted with a crisis. As the name suggests, crises are something that all civilizations in the game must face and navigate, and are themed to the age. Every crisis comes in stages and intensifies over time, making it more challenging to maintain your empire if you don't adapt. In addition to gameplay moments, you'll have to select which crisis policies you want to take on. In contrast to the beneficial social policies you slot in when completing civics, crisis policies are negative ones that are slotted into their own separate set. There's several reasons why we created the crisis system. First, they added a jolt of variety and excitement to the end of an age, making the late game of an age feel climactic and epic. They provide an interesting challenge for the player to navigate. There's no right way to adapt, adding a ton more replay value. And finally, they reflect the narrative reality of many civilizations, creation, growth, crisis, and rebirth that leads to the reshaping of the world and ushering in a new age. I quite like the crisis system. I think it's a very cool idea. I think that the devil is going to be in the details, right? It's going to be when the rubber meets the road. It's going to be how does the crunchiness of the system actually crunch, How crunchy is the chocolate bar? That's going to be what really dictates whether or not the crisis system is a hit or miss for me. If it's something I can mostly ignore and it's going to be annoying, it's just going to be annoying. If it's something that takes over the gameplay and derails my fun, it's going to be something that I hate. And I mean, it's a very brave decision to make from the gameplay point of view, because I can see the crises being one of the first things that people look to mod out of the game because they're annoying or unimpactful. That's my hot take on those. So potential paths for Hatshepsut. God, I wish they just went with Cleopatra. Her name is so much easier to say. Hatshepsut is able to lead Aksum or Egypt and other Antiquity Age civs. She can go to the Abbasid dynasty, she can go to Mongolia, or, other Exploration Age civs, and then you can become Buganda or other modern age civs. These are just potential paths. These are just like ideas. And I quite like the sort of more fluidity of transition. You could make an argument that maybe it would be nice if there was just a linear path, but culture doesn't take a linear path. A full campaign of Civilization 7 is one that goes through all three ages: Antiquity, Exploration, and Modern. Once the age is completed, all players and any AI opponents experience an age transition simultaneously. During an age transition, three things happen. You select a new civilization from the new age to represent your empire, you choose which legacies you want to retain in the new age, and the game world evolves in ways both big and small. When it comes to selecting a new civilization in the new age, you won't be able to choose just any new civ at random. There are three factors that determine your options. First, if there's a historical or geographical connection between the past civ and your future one, you'll have a choice that's more rooted in history. Some examples we've shared so far include Antiquity Egypt to Exploration Abbasid, as well as Maurya India to Chola India. So this is a potential path for Ashoka, right? You can go Maurya India to Chola India to Mughal India, which is kind of an interesting series of decisions. I'm very interested to see what sort of linear paths, like for India and China and stuff like that, we can see. Second, certain leaders will automatically unlock certain civs due to their particularly strong identities. Choosing Himiko, for example, means you'll always be able to play as Meiji Japan in the modern age. So here's Napoleon or Augustus choosing Rome, becoming the Norman Empire, and then becoming the French Empire, which is a really, really cool series of progressions. And I really want to see, how does this play out? This sort of stuff gets me really excited. Finally, gameplay actions you take can unlock non-historical paths. This is something we know the Civ community has discussed at length. We definitely enjoyed your reactions and memes to the idea of Egypt turning into Mongolia. With that said, we wanted to include this option for many reasons. First, we think it's fun that it reflects a Civ's sort of what-if spirit of experimentation. Second, we wanted to provide players with the possibility of making dramatic strategy changes, especially if they aren't as focused on playing historically. If you do find yourself surrounded by horses, wouldn't it be interesting if, rather than going across the great oceans during the Exploration Age, use Mongolia's powerful cavalry to sweep the home continent? Finally, we think it reflects some of the core ideas behind history is built in layers. The notion that our history is just one of many possible paths, that civilizations are ultimately shaped and determined by their people. That's something I quite like. I like this. Although, the game is so beautiful. It is so gorgeous. I love this game. Look how beautiful it is. God, it's beautiful. God, I want to play it so bad. After selecting your new civilization, you'll pick and choose which legacies you want to carry forward in the new age. Legacies can only be selected if you've earned enough legacy points to acquire them, the latter which are obtained primarily completing those milestones in legacy paths. For example, completing a milestone in the science path gives you a science point, which can be used to grab the science legacy in the next age. Legacies come in a variety of different costs and bonuses. Some legacies are easily acquired. Leader attributes only cost 1 point and can be grabbed in bulk. Others are more expensive and may require prerequisite accomplishments, like the Golden Age legacies mentioned earlier. One legacy that I like in particular is Change Capital. It's free and is strategically useful for moving your inland capital to one of your settlements along a coast as you prepare to take on the challenges and strategic opportunities of a new age. I quite like that. There's something interesting about that. I could also see you doing the reverse, moving your capital away from the coast in order to protect it from potential naval invasions. Very, very interesting, very, very cool. Once you select your new civs and legacies and the new age begins, your game world undergoes a series of changes across the board. All civilizations begin anew with updates to their civics and technologies. New resources will fill the map and the world expands. From antiquity to exploration, you'll be able to research shipbuilding to cross great oceans and reach distant lands, which it turns out are already occupied with other undiscovered civilizations who may not welcome your presence. You'll be able to overbuild, construct new buildings on your top of your old ones, which have reduced yields as they're less powerful than a new age. So basically, if you built a library in the antiquity age, it won't be as strong in the exploration age. So maybe you want to put down like a university on top of it to replace it, which is kind of a cool idea. I like that there's like a bit of a legacy to your empire. New legacy paths present you with updated objectives, and new game systems can come online. Religion, which plays a minor role in the antiquity age, becomes an essential driver of action during the exploration age. I'm really excited to see how this actually plays out. With a new civilization in hand and so much of the world changing, it naturally raises a question. How do we make sure you maintain a cohesive sense of identity for your empire? This is something that we've spent the most time tweaking and fine-tuning. I'm sure we'll continue to make adjustments once the players get their hands on the game. There's several things that help you retain your sense of identity. Leaders will remain the same across ages. Leaders will persist across all ages. This is actually a really good question from the community. It's like, I don't want to play a game as Ashoka. I want to play a game as India. I want to play a game as Gandhi. I don't know. There is something kind of to that community complaint. In some ways, I think I fundamentally just prefer the old way that Civilization did things, but I am willing to look at this with an open mind. Leaders persist across all ages, ensuring you always have a sense of who is part of your empire and who are your rivals. Relationships that you develop persist, and leaders continue to grow by leveling up their attributes. It also helps lend a sense of personal storytelling to each campaign, as you decide which of the other leaders deserve to be your cherished allies or bitter enemies across the ages. Traditions are always available. Investing in a Civ's exclusive civic tree unlocks traditions, social policies that can be used in any age. In the modern age, it's entirely up to you whether you want to slot all your social policies with traditions, and some leaders have bonuses for doing so. It's kind of a cool idea. Ageless buildings. Some buildings are so essential that they cannot be replaced. Any wonders you've built will always remain on the map, as well as any unique quarters you've constructed. Commanders persist. Commanders are particularly powerful and impactful units, gaining levels as they survey the battlefield. Your investment in these units will pay off in the long run, as all commander attributes and experience continue across ages. I think that's quite cool that they have built in things to make sure that those ages are linked together, but that there's these sort of natural reset points. I don't know if you would call them natural, but I guess they're natural because they've designed the game around them, right? That there are these kind of reset points throughout the game. It's really going to depend on how it actually plays out. Age transition represent moments of possibility in a game of Civilization 7. If you find yourself falling too far behind, an age transition will offer you a way to get back into the game. You can double down on a preferred playstyle or pivot to an entirely different civ if you find yourself outmatched in a certain part of the game. Snowballing into an unstoppable juggernaut is no longer as obvious an outcome, but we want to make sure that you're still rewarded for playing well enough through an abundance of legacy points, golden age options, and more. I like that. It's sort of a crunching, right? Like if you imagine, let me just clean this up, right? If you imagine a player is snowballing, I don't want to use that yellow, it looks gross. Like if a player is snowballing, right, and he's going up like this, and another player is languishing, okay, an age transition is like the red line in the middle is like this is what an average player is supposed to look like. The age transition, like let's say the age transition happens here. This player on the bottom gets like snapped up to this point. So he has like a chance to come back. And this player who's like all the way up here gets snapped down to this point. So there's kind of like a, hey, yeah, you're starting off ahead of this guy, but now you're not running away with the game, which I kind of like. I want to see how it plays out. Future potential. With ages, we set out to create a system that not just solves some of the long-standing issues we want to tackle, but also presents you with something new. Something that offers a fresh take on Civ, to make the game more dynamic, inviting, and exciting. With ages, we're able to reach new levels when it comes to historical immersion. We tailor the content specifically for that age, and you compete with fellow empires at the height of their powers. We can provide a deeper and richer experience, where your unique units and abilities are all more readily available. And by design, ages already come with plenty of features. There's less of a need to wait for an expansion, like in the past. I would like to see potential gameplay expansions to individual ages, like, Civilization 7, the Age of Antiquity, Redux, Electric Boogaloo, We can't wait for you to experience this new structure for yourself. Building Civilization 7 with ages as our core concept has completely shifted how we approach making a Civ game. We've had to greatly expand the total number of Civs, making this the most civilizations in the base game at launch in franchise history. We're really excited for what's to come in Civilization 7 and what the future looks like for the game over the long term. Thanks for reading. If you have any questions, please continue to share them on the forums, on Reddit, and across our social media channels. So very, very interesting, very, very exciting. I really, here's the thing, the devil is in the details. This all sounds really exciting, really cool. I'm really excited for ages. I think, here's the thing, what if they just decide to put in an alternate history age, right? The clockwork age. What if there was a different industrial revolution that went more in a clockwork direction? What if there was a future age where it's all sciencey technology? What if there was like the age of crisis, right? Where you have, humanity is on the brink because of a zombie invasion. Like there's so much potential for alternative history, but also just granular. Like what if World War II was a whole ass age? You know what I mean? What if World War I was a whole ass age? What if the Victorian era was a whole age? What if, the 100 Years' War, the 80 Years' War, all these different things. Like, I love the idea of an age because it allows you to crunch down history into these sort of bite-sized chunks, and there's something really exciting about that. So, ages system, I'm a 9 out of 10 on hype. Like, I can't wait. I don't know. I'm a 10 out of 10 on hype, and I'm a 5 out of 10 on confidence. It's like this could suck, or it could, like, I'm super hyped. I'm really excited. I want to play it, but it might not work out. That's kind of like, it could go either way. It might not feel very good. Devil's in the details. How does it actually work? But yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for watching this video on ages. I'll link to the developer diary in the bottom. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.